What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about Hazelight. I want to talk about Josef Fares. Is really this up and coming. I mean, maybe not so much anymore because we all kind of know the name. The guy continues to impress me, not just from the amazing games that he makes. And to be honest with you, that is really, I think, where you need to make your stamp. You can say all the right things. You can come across with this very cool demeanor, and of course, F the Oscars and all of the legendary stuff that this guy has done. But if you make some terrible games, it doesn't really hold that much weight, right? Well, it turns out he's got both, and we kind of always known that, right? He says some just very real things, and then he also backs it up just kind of on the sideline with just some incredible game of the year type games. So, Split Fiction is out. I'm going to be playing it with my wife actually after I'm done with all these videos today, and I want to talk about, there was he's gone on the interview trail, right? So he's done a lot of interviews over the last couple of weeks, and I've watched a couple of them. He did one in particular where there's two kind of viral moments that are going around. So I want to play both of these clips, and I just want to kind of talk again more about just the person, more about his ideas and kind of where he's coming from, because the game's out and I'm very much hoping that this game is phenomenal. Everybody says it is, so I'm excited to play it. But just to kind of give this guy a little bit of credit with the other stuff and just kind of how he thinks about some things. So let's play these two clips.
No loot boxes, no marks, and no words to live by, my man. Of course, and that goes for everything we do at Hazelight. I think those kind of affects the design of how the game should be done. Every time you take a design decision taken on you making more money in the game, I think it's a huge problem, and it's stopping our industry from a creative perspective. Another feminism propaganda. So what the fuck is this? I guess that somebody are reacting that there are two women. Let me say this: in Brothers there were two guys, in A Way Out there were two guys, in It Takes Two there were one guy, one woman, and now there are two girls and everybody's complaining. Come on, man. I mean, let's face it, man. And it's also based on my daughters. I don't care what you have between your legs. That's totally not interesting for me. Good characters is what's important.
Okay, so let's start with the microtransaction one first, then we'll go to the woke one. In terms of microtransactions, man, number one, I guess, again, it's not all that surprising. I want to say he's brave, right? But at the same time, well, he is brave, but also we kind of already know that, right? Going on Jeff Keighley, going on the Game Awards 2017, right? This was 3-4 years in, and saying F the Oscars, and he dropped the F-bomb 3-4 times, very much making Jeff Keighley very uncomfortable, in terms of doing that. But this is a guy who clearly showed very early on. This is before A Way Out even came out, right? I think A Way Out would have came out about 4 months after that, F the Oscars moment. So he already showed, even before the first, he did Brothers, right? But then the second game, the game that really, I think, kind of elevated the studio and put it more on the map, he already showed he was a very brave and maybe controversial. Maybe I don't really think he is all that controversial. I think he speaks a lot of truth, to be honest with you. But he has shown to go against the grain, right? So that's not all that surprising. I guess, just to kind of do it again right now, because you really are calling out, I'd say, a good amount of the industry, by the way. I know it's a little comment. It's a 25 second clip, as part of an entire interview, and then there's multiple interviews he's done. Maybe it just kind of gets lost, in all the noise. But to even kind of go out there and basically say, right, when you add, and I like how he said it, because there's different ways of looking at microtransactions, but him being a developer, right? And how he says, even just having it in your game means that basically you're making the game around it, right? Around those ideas of getting more money. And I just feel, that's a very specific way of thinking about it. It's a little bit different even than how I've thought about it or how I've said it out loud before. So I like the words he actually used. I think he conveyed it quite well, and coming from somebody who's in it, somebody that would absolutely know that, yeah, as soon as you make this feature that you're going after more money, suddenly the entire game almost becomes about that. Or you're just, even if you just make a couple things around that idea, you're harming the game. You're taking away from the game. Love it. I really, really love those thoughts. And, besides the fact that he said in multiple of these interviews over the last couple of weeks, Hazelight will never be sold, right? It'll never have microtransactions. It'll never have, live service. It'll never have these kind of things. Love it. These are all amazing things that I like to hear. And again, he speaks a lot of facts there. The woke stuff is also interesting, because what's interesting actually about his comment is I feel like he says it safely, but also very reasonably. Like his answer, it's somewhat of a safe answer in the sense that he's not really actually going after anybody, I think, in the way. Now, he does say, like, F the idea of that question. And I agree. By the way, for this specific game and for this specific man, I think that's a very stupid kind of way of thinking about this game as well. I've said that to people. I've gotten a couple comments that have said, this is DEI, this is woke stuff. I have actually thought the exact same things that this man has actually said, but then he kind of adds on that very, very important part at the end, so I'll talk about that. But just if you look at the games he's made, right, he's actually made games primarily focusing on guys. You look at Brothers, you look at A Way Out, his first 2 games had 4 males and in terms of major characters and no females, right? Then you go to It Takes Two, it's 50-50, and now it's both 2 girls, and the names and all that's based off his daughters. So it's like, it's not all that crazy that would happen, and I don't think it's part of like a larger movement or anything crazy like that. But the ending, okay, the ending of what he says, that is where I think he really nails it, on top of he's not really going after kind of anything. When he talks about, he doesn't care what you identify as, he doesn't care what you are, who you, anything like that. He cares about them being good characters, and I truly, okay, there's a lot of ways he could have answered that, and a lot of the ways would have been antagonistic, which, you could take your pick if you want people to, answer those type of questions in an antagonistic way. That's fine, okay, that's up to you to decide how you feel. He does it, I think, in a non-antagonistic way, and then he also answers, I think, the most accurate and the way that it should be answered, and the way that this stuff should be discussed, I think, 24/7. The problem is it's not. So let me just go on a little bit of a, and connect the dots here, but a little bit of a rant. It should always come down to the characters. I think a lot of what this woke, anti-woke stuff has dissolved into over the last little while is, if you are this, it's immediately that. If you have a female in your game, it's immediately woke. If you have a character of color, anything, okay? If you push it just a little bit, it's immediately woke. And I think you're really on a very fine line of being labeled certain things when you say it. Now, does that sometimes connect to these kind of ideologies and the idea of just putting these people into games just to do it? Yes, that can sometimes happen, but I think people have jumped the gun majorly, and again, it's why I love his answer, because this is the right way, I think, of thinking about it. It matters the characters. It matters if they are good or bad. It doesn't matter what gender, it doesn't matter what skin color, it doesn't matter nothing. To me, it matters, are they good characters? That's it. Now there could be an ideology of why they're put into it, but ultimately people would, I would say, dismiss it rather quickly if the characters are good. You can have a cast of anything, and if they're phenomenal, I really don't think you hear a lot of people talking about what they're kind of, made up of. Again, any comment that I have seen, on Split Fiction and that kind of, mindset to it, I mean, I think it's ridiculous for a couple different reasons, that being one. I mean, the other big one is, like, they've made such phenomenal games. And this game honestly looks incredible, too. So it's like, maybe wait till you play the game, or, all of a sudden, because it's 2 girls, it's immediately going to be woke. Well, number one, you look back at the past games they've made, I think they've just been phenomenal games, and that's it. And then you go into this game, you also haven't even played it. So, I don't know, people jump the gun, but I really like those answers. And again, the purpose I wanted to do of this video, he is like a rising legend, because now he's got several kind of hits, big hits, under his belt, I feel. And then it also just so happens that I think he's a really, he's a very honest and kind of brutally honest type guy. He speaks his mind. He speaks without fear. And I think that's something that, to be honest with you, probably everybody in the industry to a degree has. Like, you think of the other legends like Hideo Kojima, or like I think of like a Sam Lake or Tetsuya Nomura. There's of course many legends in the industry, but I feel like many of them do have to follow like the lingo of the industry. He does not, right? So that is, I would say, the one really major thing that really has him stand out amongst anyone else, is he just doesn't feel like he's from the same system, which I think is actually really cool. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.